don't even bother.
Oh, hey.
Hello.
Do you think that we've landed on the moon?
I love this. And no, I don't. No.
Okay, pause. Now, everybody, listen to me. This is a very controversial topic. We're just diving in today. Every time this has ever been brought up with me in conversation, I run into one of two people. Somebody who goes, oh, yeah, I want to talk about that. Or somebody who gets pissed. So if you find yourself getting upset, getting your little feelers hurt because this is like a canonical event in your life, and you get upset about what we're saying, push pause, go outside, take some deep breaths, look at the clouds or chemtrails, and just chill out. This is for entertainment only. All you have to do is think about what we're saying.
Also, just open your mind.
Yeah.
Keep your mind open to the fact that other people can have different opinions and views and recollections of certain events or the facts that did or did not prove them. So,
all right, shall we dive in?
let's dive in, because I have to say that my mom, that was a big event for her, right?
Yeah.
My mom was born in 58. Huge event for her. And I think it was the past year that then she started to wake up to that and really start putting everything together. So I'm bravo, Mom. Good job. Way to join.
Yeah, and like I said, I think that the people who, and I'm not talking about the people who were born in 64, who were 5 years old when this happened. I'm talking about people who were probably middle school, high school, and above, who remember it happening.
Like they remember JFK.
Yeah, they're canonical events in their lives. Like we remember the OJ trial. There's lots of things that we remember from our lifetime. And so the possibility that that was fake is unfathomable. And previously, the only people who were even entertaining that idea were somebody's weird uncle that only got brought out at like Thanksgiving. But I think it's become more acceptable to discuss.
Yes, I also think that whereas everyone made fun of that weird uncle who would come out at the holidays, right, and rant off all the conspiracies, I think a lot of us today have gotten to a point where we would want that guy at our Thanksgiving.
Oh, 100%.
I want them at Thanksgiving. I unfortunately don't have anyone like that in my family.
That's because it's you.
That's true. Apparently, I'm the weird uncle. All right, it's fine.
But I think there were a lot of people who before 2020 were like, oh, vaccines save lives. And now over the course of the last 5 years, we have now started questioning everything to include the moon landing.
Yeah, let's dive in.
Okay. So the accepted history of the moon landing is that in July of 1969, Apollo 11 became the first manned mission to land on the moon. 6 manned missions, all Americans, allegedly landed on the moon between 1969 and 1972. And allegedly 5 countries have reached the moon with unmanned missions, which are the Soviet Union, United States, China, India, and Japan. Okay, that's the generally accepted
Allegedly
history of the moon. Now, let's discuss some things about the 60s. Neither one of us was alive in the 60s. I've done a lot of asking of my parents and people who were alive in the 60s. I've done a lot of research into this over several years. So telephones in the 60s were generally rotary dial, corded phones. Push button touch tone phones came later in the decade, but a lot of homes were all connected by a party line. Like they shared a phone line. So you didn't even have dedicated phone lines for each house. And then service was often affected by distance. And like early international calls in the 1960s were often noisy and expensive, primarily routed through copper submarine cables. So with the launch of the Telstar 1 satellite in 1962, that started to make international calls easier and of better quality, but sub-oceanic cables were still the primary method until the late 1960s. So, using our critical thinking skills, if making a long distance phone call, let alone an international phone call, was often very poor quality, very difficult. I don't understand how they were making phone calls from the White House to the moon.
To the moon?
So I looked that up. Let me find my notes here. They said that allegedly Nixon placed the call from the White House to Mission Control in Houston. They put the handset in Houston on an acoustic coupler to patch the phone to the radio, and then NASA transmitted the radio signal. Here's the problem I have with that is that I have watched that video so many times from so many different sources, and there's barely a delay. You're telling me that a phone call from DC to Houston and then somehow to the moon, 238,000 miles away, was like the same amount of delay as you would see on a guest who's calling into the Today Show. Make that make sense to me.
Listen, the only phone I think would be, if we're talking about years ago, I'm not going to talk about today because I'm sure Elon has a phone that would work just fine in space, clearly. But let's just even take it to the 90s and 2000s. If any phone was ever going to work on the moon, it was going to be a Nokia. That was it.
Yeah.
That was it in those times, in the times of 90s and 2000 when we were alive. But in the 60s, I just never understood how we magically, the story that we were all taught in school, Neil Armstrong, everybody, the astronauts that went to the moon. I don't know. It's something that you're told. It's something that you have footage of, right? You've got footage of something.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, what you see is what you're told to believe, especially as a kid in school. But, okay, growing up and now dissecting it over the past few years, you really start to think, wait a minute, there were whole grown-ass people who really took this for word, creed, everything, because it's what they were told, and it was so pivotal for America to land, to go to the moon.
Yeah. Okay, so the cars of the 1960s, just the vehicular technology, things that were like invented / popularized in the 60s in vehicles was 3-point seatbelts. Like that was a new thing. Collapsible steering columns, like rear window defoggers, front disc brakes, non-rupturing fuel tanks. These were all brand new state-of-the-art technology in the 60s. Okay, just keep that in mind. The first residential countertop microwaves started selling in 1967 for just under $500. So people weren't even microwaving their popcorn. They were still making it on the stove.
That alone should have been a huge red flag.
Yeah.
If we didn't have a microwave, but somehow we can send human beings into another orbit. Mm-hmm. It's so weird to me, again, as you grow older, and we've seen a lot in our lifetime, that wasn't something for us. We've had other things, but we had Y2K. We had so many other things that should have been this huge thing. And there were, but this is so historical that it was really such a pivotal point of American, of U.S. history to be the country that went to the moon.
Yeah.
So then you look into everything else about it.
Yeah.
But the technology alone.
Yeah.
I'm like.
And I will say, as another caveat, over researching all of this, whoever is in charge of the internet has done a really great job. I believe what I believe, but researching it on the internet will make you think they're pretty damn convincing. Because they can just about convince me that it really did happen.
But you've also been on this rabbit hole for quite a few years.
Yes.
So you've been nerding out, compiling the data. Yeah. So now to go to the internet and find that it's almost nothing.
Yeah. So like you were saying, the technology, like Neil Armstrong has bragged that they did this with less tech than an iPhone. Because a modern smartphone has more than 100,000 times the processing power and millions of times more memory than the computer that landed on the moon. Okay, it's 2025. Think about all the things that I just mentioned. Phones, cars, microwaves. I didn't even talk about TVs. Think about how every bit of technology over the last however many years, I can't do math.
A lot.
A lot of years, decades.
40 plus.
50 plus.
Also that.
56 years.
60.
56 years. Okay. Think about every bit of technology that has evolved over the last 56 years. And apparently that's the one thing that we can't replicate because apparently they lost everything. All of the files, all of the notes, all of the instruction manuals, all of it.
Oh.
Nobody ever thought to back things up or write shit down for mankind's greatest achievement. They didn't write any of that down, and we can't do it today.
Heard to say that we didn't.
That was Buzz Aldrin, who was the second man on the moon. They went up together with another guy who stayed in the command module.
On the phone. Someone was on the, who was manning the phone? Who ran the landline?
Right.
If that's all there was.
So, yeah, they say all the telemetry data, over 13,000 tapes, gone. Apparently, when people were starting to call them out that this looks fake, they said, well, yeah, we also lost all the original videos. So we had to restage some things.
What?
Yeah, which seems very shady.
Suspicious.
Buzz Aldrin has said very carefully, not in a direct way. He never said we didn't go to the moon, but he has insinuated it and then kind of rescinded it. He never came out and said any of that. It seemed like he was kind of dropping crumbs here and there. So we can't really use that as definitive proof. And he was definitely discredited as like a doddering old man whenever he did say it.
Well, sure, because you're going against the narrative and you're basically saying that what we know is a lie. History is a lie. That never happened. Whatever. I mean, I guess you can't say that if you want to have a peaceful life, if you've been compelled to say something, and then, I guess it just jumps to what was the point?
Yeah.
Why would they do that? But
we'll get to that later.
Okay.
So, like I said, the moon is... Okay, like I said, the moon is 238,000 miles from the Earth's surface. But do you remember, not too long ago, when we had astronauts stuck at the ISS, the International Space Station? How far do you think the ISS is from the Earth's surface?
I don't know.
254 miles.
Okay.
And it took damn near an act of Congress to get those astronauts home with Elon's help. But somehow, 56 years ago, we could send dudes up to the moon several times. Okay. Let's discuss. Are you familiar with the Van Allen radiation belts?
No.
Okay. According to NASA's own website, one of the largest hazards for astronauts traveling to Mars, because that's what they're talking about now, will be overcoming exposure to high energy radiation from solar wind, solar storms, and galactic cosmic rays that originate outside of our solar system. This radiation is more damaging to humans than medical x-rays used to see broken bones or treat cancer. So there are two belts around the Earth of this insane radiation that allegedly these guys passed through.
Okay.
That is currently the reason that all space travel in our lifetimes has been limited to lower Earth orbit. So there's no way to shield the astronauts and equipment from the extremely harmful radiation because any lead plates would be too heavy to allow the rocket to fly. Like, we go to the dentist and we still have to have a lead apron on.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Good point.
And so allegedly, the Apollo 11 astronauts and then successive subsequent missions had aluminum foil, and apparently they traveled through the least radioactive parts of the belt. So they were, quote unquote, only receiving the radiation equivalent to a chest x-ray for an hour. Now, that's a lot of radiation still.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the Van Allen radiation belts are like a real hurdle, and nobody has been able to explain. I'm not a rocket scientist. I'm just some normal person with a normal IQ. So I don't fully understand all of that, but nobody's ever been able to explain it in a way that makes sense to me of how they could have gotten through that then, but they can't get through it now. Okay. Now, let's think about, we've all seen videos of rockets launching at Cape Canaveral.
Right.
Okay. Think about all the infrastructure it takes to launch that rocket, the scaffolding, all of it. They're not just out in the desert launching a rocket. It's like a whole structure. And then the blast of fire that comes out of it. We have 10,000-pound thrusters to get that rocket up and down. Somehow, if you watch the video, look at the pictures, those 10,000-pound thrusters left no marks on the finely dusted moon surface from landing.
Okay.
Like there's no moon dust. And you can watch the little astronauts hopping along and there's little poofs of moon dust around their feet. But somehow there's no moon dust on any of that equipment. And there's no scorch marks from the rocket. Okay. And also, how in the hell did they take back off from the moon without all that equipment?
Oh yeah, I didn't even think of that. How did you get home? How'd that all work out? It's a whole weird. Those people who are diehard, who believe it so wholeheartedly, I get it. I get that because it was such a big point of your life and childhood, that's something, and it does. It was a really cool thing to think of, that America landed on the moon. My thing is always, why do you want to go at all? You want to open a Target? What's the point of going to see if there's life on Mars and on the moon? What's the point? I just don't understand. But also, why are you lying about it? Why create this thing?
I'll get to the why, though. I want to wrap up with the why. I have a good why.
It's crazy because when you see, and what movie was really popular in '69?
Oh, I don't know that.
That's okay. You continue, and I'm going to find the famous movie.
Okay, so now you have lots of filmmakers talking about
Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
Oh, I love that movie.
Okay, the point being, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, and you went to the moon with that kind of, I don't know. That's fine.
Yeah. So lots of filmmakers have talked about the footage of the moon landing. And they have said that, yes, we had to replicate some of it, blah, blah, blah. But they're still like holding firm that this was real, true footage. That's also, it's very up in the air. So we're going to go with the fact that they've said it's real, true footage. Now, if you look at that footage, apparently the surface of the moon is 20 times brighter than the brightest noonday here on Earth. If you go outside today at noon and look at shadows, your shadow and the shadow of a light pole and a shadow of a car will all be running parallel. There is no way for those shadows to intersect because it's coming from the sun. It's coming from one light source. The pictures on the moon have conflicting shadows, where the shadow from this astronaut and the shadow from this rock, if you draw lines from those shadows, they will intersect each other, suggesting that there was an artificial light source. So if you're really on the moon, you A, don't need an artificial light source, and B, don't have anywhere to plug in your light. So that footage was 100% not taken on the moon. My favorite point is that there is footage of them landing on the moon. And then there's footage of them taking off from the moon that zooms in and focuses on the rocket taking back off. Who the fuck took that footage?
So there was already a camera crew on the moon?
Did they just leave that guy there to die? And how did they get that footage back to the Earth? And how would that film, they weren't doing digital, that was film. How did that film get through those radiation belts without being damaged?
Well, apparently it was damaged because everything is damaged.
Right.
Everything doesn't exist anymore. But if there's footage of you landing on the moon, that would mean that you had to have already been there to set something up to be there. So I guess in essence, you're not really even the first group of people to land on the moon if there was already a crew or some kind of setup there.
Bingo.
Number one.
Yep.
Number two, yeah, you're just going to leave the guy, or you're just leaving the really high-tech camera on a tripod or something. But no, you're talking about old school film. So all of these factors, just if you look at all the facts of it and just the basic, I guess, common sense of if this, then that, right? If life was like this with no technological advancement in order to be able to do this, then that shit didn't happen.
Yeah.
If this, then that. Pretty easy when you think of it that way.
So I found...
Logistically speaking.
Yeah. I found a photo on the internet that was captioned, a still frame from a video transmission taken moments before Neil Armstrong became the first human to step onto the surface of the moon. So how do you get that photo?
Nobody asked questions, though, I think. Back in the day, I don't know if it was, again, just how they were all raised, how they were living with society, what the societal generally expected rules of them were, where they just did as they were told by media, they believed what they were told by government and everything. So nobody questioned it. I don't know when the questions really started arising from everybody, but I know that now it's gotten so far with all of these things, and we'll just link it to Mandela effect too, because same concept. People are questioning now everything that they know. And that's fine. I think that's healthy.
Yeah.
I think it's healthy to question a lot, especially if you weren't there to experience it or if something didn't sit right in your mind about it. But it's very clear when you look at it objectively of this is what you had to get this done. This is what was done. Make it make sense. The microwave just came out 2 years before.
Yeah.
You know, calling and getting a response on the moon that quickly when it was a pain in the ass, even in the 90s to call Italy, pain in the ass, took forever. Now you have this happening lickety split. So one of these things does not add up with the other.
Let's chat about the flag on the moon. So they, according to recent data, the moon is brown, not gray. All of that footage shows the moon is gray. And you can't argue that it's distorted because the film is 56 years old or whatever, because the flag is still red, white, and blue in those pictures. But the moon is gray. Except that I could get on board with unmanned missions having landed on the moon. Okay, so sure. So maybe we do know that the moon is brown. I don't know what freaking color it is, but that's what they're saying. So there's a discrepancy. Also, there's no atmosphere on the moon, which means that there's no wind, which means that why the hell was that flag waving? Also, because of gravity, if a dude on Earth can jump about half a meter on Earth, he should be able to jump 2.7 meters on the moon.
Oh, wow. That's a lot.
And those guys were just hopping around like little bunnies. They should have been making huge, fluffy leaps. And they were just hopping about half a meter. Probably less, honestly. So there's that. And then there's the fact that, according to a quick internet search, so whoever's controlling the internet probably should fix this. The stars should be visible from the moon.
Okay.
And there are no stars in any of those pictures or any of that footage. What did the footprint on the moon look like? Neil Armstrong's famous first footprint. It was a treaded print. Yeah. If you internet search up Neil Armstrong's spacesuit, those boots were smooth and flat on the bottom. No tread. So again, like people who are controlling the internet maybe do a better job. Now, there is a video of all three of those astronauts, Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong and the other guy. I want to say his name is Michael Collins, and it has just left my brain completely. So I'm sorry to him and his family. There's a video of them doing a press conference after they got back. And you would think that if you had just achieved mankind's greatest scientific achievement, that you'd be pretty pumped. And they all look like it's like a hostage negotiation. They are so somber and sullen in this video. It's wild.
That video is really telling also because, yes, they do look like someone just stole their cookies.
They seem like if they say something wrong, somebody's going to kill their families. Them. Like, it's so bizarre to me. Okay, so here's something interesting. There is a video circulating the internet where a guy talks about something, his father's deathbed confession. And I haven't done enough research into this yet. I just haven't really had the time. But apparently his dad was a part of something called Project Slam Dunk in 1968 at Cannon Air Force Base, where his dad told him, and his dad waited until he was dying to tell him the story and begged him not to tell anybody else. And he just recently put it out because he himself was dying. So it was like a deathbed by proxy. And the dad said, and he swore up and down that his dad had never lied to him in his life. So whatever. Again, this is a thought experiment. So take it with a grain of salt, whatever you want. 2 large air hangars made to look like a lunar landscape, sand, rocks, everything trucked in, walls and ceiling painted flat black. And the guy remembers when the moon landing footage came out, his dad saying, that's exactly what I saw at that Air Force base. They filmed that there. And then also another question that apparently you're not supposed to ask is, how did they fit that little lunar rover car in that little space capsule? They appear to be about the same size. Like that seems, and if you've seen any videos from modern day astronauts, it's cramped quarters in there. So I don't know how they fit that thing in there. Plus, when you zoom in on that lunar rover, it looks like lawn furniture and umbrellas spray painted silver and gold. Like everybody just go Google the lunar rover and tell me it doesn't look like your grandma's patio furniture.
So here's the thing. Whoever really made this part of their identity of, loving America and how far America's come and all the things. Whoever was alive at that point that experienced this is not, I would say, the majority of those people who are diehard, you can't convince me that we did not land on the moon, are most likely because you would break their reality.
Yeah.
If they had to understand this. If you find out that something you were told as a child and something that you actually witnessed, I'm going to put that loosely, as a child, is not true and never happened and you were lied to. I mean, we're going through that right now with so many things.
Sure.
Now that happened in our lifetime that we're kind of questioning all of it. So that's most likely why a lot of people refuse to even want to hear about it.
Sure. And I don't even care if you want to say that we landed on the moon, then you keep on believing that. If that's what it takes for you to get through the day, I don't care. But these are questions that I have that nobody's been able to answer.
The funny thing is, if we did go now, I don't know if I would be able to trust that it was real or AI. We've gotten to that point now where I'm kind of, okay, cool. I love that for you, but I don't want to go.
Well, and
I'm not going to be taking a rocket, $100,000 ride into space.
I never got into dinosaurs, which will be a topic for another day. And I never got into space stuff. I don't care. But I'll see videos of the ISS and there are problems with those videos. There's a video of an astronaut on the ISS, allegedly, who throws a ball across the room, the pod, the module, whatever he's in. He floats across after the ball, picks up a bat that was on the ground, hits the ball, sets the bat back down on the floor, and then floats off after the ball. How is the bat set down on the floor? Stuff like that. I have lots of questions about things like that.
And so then I think the bigger question would be, with you and all of your questions that no one will answer, right? Mm-hmm. Because the internet is just, if so many people are having these doubts and these questions and these realizations, no one's going to answer them for you. And so therefore, what are you doing? You're not, you're focused, right, on that. And you have this non-answer. So you try to find the answer. And then you wonder about all the shit that's happening in the background. Mm-hmm. Because it's just kind of what they do for everything. You're keeping everyone questioning everything. Mm-hmm. You never come out straight and say what the actual facts are. And at the end of the day, who is behind the curtain controlling all of this? Because this is way deeper than government. This is way deeper.
Yep.
This is shit that your history is based on and formed by. So something like landing on the moon, mm-hmm. something like dinosaurs, something like the chemtrails, everything that people are questioning, please keep questioning things.
Yeah.
Because it's, again, we've talked about you have to hone in and work your brain muscle for your situational awareness and everything. But this is something that if you just allow yourself to accept what is told, then you're not really thinking at all. And I think that as a nation, we're failing in that because there are so many other countries who you can question things. And then there are countries that you'll get killed for questioning anything.
Sure.
So there's a balance. There's a tender balance. But I'm just saying it's wild to me when people just blanket accept anything.
Oh, yeah.
So keep the questioning, but also why would they do that?
Okay, I have that.
Thank you.
So, and we've talked about that before, where I talk about I always want to know the why. In my brain, if I have a question about something, I will find an answer. Like And thank God for the people who I always go to with questions, because I will see something and go, what is that? And I cannot let it go until I find the answer. So luckily I have a few really solid people in my life who will give me the answers. But this I had to just find, because it's not like I know astronauts in my life. Okay.
What? No,
Okay. So let's talk about why. Let's talk about the geopolitical climate of the world in the 60s, in the 50s. Let's back up to World War II. USA and USSR were becoming two ideologically opposed superpowers. Okay, that begins the Cold War, especially after both countries developed the hydrogen bomb. So in 1957, the Soviets developed and launched Sputnik 1, which was the first satellite to orbit the Earth. So now we are behind in the space race. The Cold War continues, keeps escalating. So the U.S. response to these Soviet achievements was to greatly accelerate previously existing military space and missile projects and create NASA. Military efforts were initiated to develop and produce mass quantities of ICBMs, intercontinental ballistic missiles, that would bridge the so-called missile gap and enable a policy of deterrence to nuclear war with the Soviets, mutually assured destruction. So then go to the political climate, the social climate in the U.S. We have escalation in Vietnam, which included huge anti-war protests here at home, global instability and revolution. So there was lots of decolonization happening, lots of new nations being created, shifting global power dynamics, student protests in Paris, Mexico City, all over the world, which were challenging the established authorities. And then, of course, the civil rights movement here in the U.S. And so how do you get at home, the domestic unrest to be dampened and prove to everyone in the world that we are still number one? We are still the superpower.
Yeah, you need an event that carries such magnitude.
Yeah. You win the space race. And then that brings Americans together for that moment to be super proud to be American, which we have talked so many times. We're proud to be American.
Proud to be American.
We love it here.
We do. We love it.
But two things can be true at the same time. The government can be corrupt as shit, and we can also still be proud to be Americans. So I think that they staged the moon landing to prove our dominance on the world stage and bring Americans at home together and quiet some of that unrest. Because if you're feeling super patriotic about your country, you're not going to be as inclined to go protest or as inclined to hate the government or question the government.
And back then I feel this would have been an event that would have brought everyone together also, like what you're saying, but in comparison, or I guess contrasting to what's going on in then the later years, we had 9/11 that was supposed to unify everyone and bring everyone together.
And it did for a
minute.
Yeah.
And then everyone just went right back to forgetting and hating each other. Not proud to be American. We're seeing that more now. I feel
it took 20 years-ish.
But I feel the people now who are not proud to be American, I've said it before, if you don't like it here and you're going to deface our flag and talk shit about our country, then you need to leave because there's a better country for you.
Sure.
And I don't want to pick out of the, happy five where you'll have such a great life. But we should be, if you live in a country, you should be proud to be here. It's a whole other rant, but.
And you should still be able to question your government. But I really, truly believe that it was just a massive and massively successful psyop to prove our dominance and unify the country temporarily.
I don't think that when it was done, they probably really accounted for technology going as far as it would.
Oh, sure.
Because when things can be so simply debunked in just based on the if this, then that processes, I guess.
Yep.
You wouldn't have even figured that maybe one day you would all look like liars. This would now be, gosh, it was an event that brought everyone together. Now you're questioning everything. So that could have probably been one of the big major points that's happened in our most recent history, I would say, that has gotten people to question so much. And then after that, so many more kind of fell. And they're now what we're still questioning that. But to be questioning something from 50 something years ago and to have nobody that's just going to be upfront about it, I feel that's where I have a problem. I love questioning the government.
Sure.
Because the whole beauty of America is that we're small, you have your freedoms, right? You're a newer country. You've got your freedoms. You have limited government is what we were founded upon in this republic. And yeah, you don't have to believe everything you're told, because if you have a differing opinion, you're not going to get killed by your government like some of these other countries would do. So you have the freedom of speech, the beauty of the Constitution. And yet no one's still, we're all questioning. So many people are questioning so many things and we're not getting any answers.
Yep.
So that's annoying.
Somebody that I follow, I'm really fascinated by his work. His name is Chase Hughes, and he's like a human behavior expert. And he has great insight into the human brain and behavior and all of that. And he made a solid point that said that you'll know it's a psyop when one side is being silenced. And I feel like they've tried so hard to make anyone asking questions about the moon landing to make them look crazy. And so that tells me that obviously we don't have all the answers. Because if I go to your house and say, Katusha, why did you paint your house purple? And you go, dude, I didn't paint my house purple. And you have an answer, then there you go. Problem solved, you know?
Yeah.
But they're not answering the questions. They're saying, you can't ask us that.
Why?
And they're gaslighting everybody into making you feel like somebody's crazy uncle at Thanksgiving and really making those people look like pariahs for asking the questions. When in reality, if you had a logical, good answer, why aren't you giving us the answer instead of attacking and gaslighting?
That's what I'm saying.
So that tells me that obviously it's not true.
Like many things, there's so much that if you don't want people to find the answers to stuff, I mean, don't do it, I guess, to start. But I just don't ever understand. And whoever's doing the internet stuff, because I've got questions about the Challenger, which my mom also saw. I don't know. I just feel like there are too many questions that are left unanswered, and it's fine to ask the questions, but it's also expected to get the effing answer for things and just get the clarity and be upfront. And I don't feel like the government of yore should be hiding shit that happened so many years ago. What's the purpose? Okay, it was to unite the country and I get it. If you want to put the spin on that for what was going on in the time period. I just feel there's a lot of questions for everything. And I just think that we're all entitled and deserving of getting the answers, and we're not getting them. And that's why you have so many people questioning. And to me, if you have so many people questioning, like many situations going on currently, current events, if so many people are asking questions and you have the answers, why wouldn't you just give the answers? Why wouldn't you just say the truth of what happened, of why it happened, of why it was done, whatever the situation may be? Because then you'll shut up everybody who's asking questions, because they're getting what they're asking. They're getting some kind of answer.
Unless that answer leads to more questions. And I want to say for the record that the COVID engineers really stepped in it, because most of us wouldn't have even been looking at this 5, 6, 7 years ago.
True.
So maybe don't try another global pandemic that wakes up more people.
I feel like I heard something, though, recently that there's some kind of, was it Fauci? Someone was talking about something else that's being created. And I thought, if you're not even warning, if you're saying it and then it happens and everyone is surprised and goes back into the same behavior that happened in 2020 after you were literally just told, I'm just praying it doesn't happen, because I don't want to see circles in the grass and not be able to go outside, or not be told that I can't go outside, whatever. Just if they're telling you what they're doing, that's one hand. That's really, I would say that's really nefarious, is when they're actually saying it, but they're also relying on people who just don't care and they don't listen.
Yep.
And you didn't learn. And that's the biggest lesson of all. Nobody learns anything. So let's learn. Let's all start to learn.
They keep everybody distracted with bread and circuses, which is TikTok. Unfortunately, some of us, I've never once been on TikTok, but social media, and just the distractions of keeping us all divided and against each other and left versus right and just all of that nonsense. It's just bread and circuses.
You had said that once before, that their whole purpose is to keep us divided. And I was talking to my mom the other night, and she said something like that, but came to me as a question about it and almost of concern. Do you think that all this is happening? And I said, yes, I do. We just talked about that a few weeks ago. But what better way do you have to really assert dominance over a group of people, over a country, just to have that power? And again, I'm not talking about an administration.
No.
I'm talking about deeper shit.
It goes way deeper than that.
This is so deep that you keep A hating B because each of them are wrong and they both hate each other. And then C is doing whatever the hell they want and you're not even paying attention because you have been flooded with just nonsense, lies, propaganda, and you're believing it and you're feeding it into yourself. You keep just recirculating that energy and that just populates and you spread it. Hate it spreads. We're so divided that what is going on behind the scenes? Like we've talked about before, when you're focused, when every single mainstream media channel and maybe thread online is focused on one thing that's happening today in the news that just, boo, big blow up. Oh my gosh. What's happening behind the scenes? Like you've said, what are they voting for right now? What's going on?
Yeah.
Because it's always something.
Yeah.
There's always shady shit afoot.
Always.
That's good. I like afoot. That's a good word.
So stop being shady.
Just tell us what we want to know. Why did you do such poor quality of the quote moon landing footage? Up your game.
Yeah.
Next time we go, though, I've told you I'm not going to believe it because I'm just going to think it's AI.
Oh, for sure.
Unless it's Elon walking on the moon.
No, but you can still EI that, like AI that.
You can EIO it too. You can still do that. I get it.
But I'm not going to believe it at all. I say I believe everything and nothing. I am open to conversations. I am open to hearing any perspective. I want to hear it. I want to know what everybody thinks about. Not everybody, but I want to know.
If you're someone who you're a diehard, no, we landed on it and it was so pivotal and all of the things, why? I want to know just I'm sorry, not why, just I get it.
Well, why do you think that?
I appreciate it.
I
Why do you
wanna know.
why do you think it and what's your hard stance in terms of proof? What's the undeniable fact that you have from it? But also, I would like to know what other people are questioning.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because I know a lot of people who are questioning a lot, and I would love for them to come on and chat about it with us. So if you're one of the people that I know, and you know that I know that you think all these things, we would like to have you on.
But
chat about this.
Reach out. Even if you don't want to be on the podcast, just reach out, give us some topics.
No, we
Hit me with
definitely
your
want to
research.
know
I mean,
what people are thinking with their research.
Yeah.
Come with the receipts.
Yeah.
Because it's fun.
Yeah.
But it's also, I feel, healthy. And we've said before, it keeps your brain working. It keeps you not just listening to what was in the history books when you were little. And then, I mean, we've come so far where now they're actually omitting things from history. We went through that in 2020. That was super.
Yeah.
Because you can totally erase. Oh, yeah. You can.
Well, who writes the history books?
Right.
And yeah, once you start questioning all of the things, and you don't have to stake your whole fucking personality on it. You don't have to take it personally if somebody disagrees or whatever. It's just make it a thought experiment. What if this happened? What if this really happened? What if these weren't the bad guys? What if this it's neuroplasticity in your brain.
But the point is also a bigger point is that it keeps you conversing with people who don't maybe agree with you all the time.
Yeah.
And that's where you learn from one another. You learn why their thought patterns are like that. You learn so much. And you also learn how to be a free thinker and not an idiot.
Yeah. Don't get stuck in an echo chamber.
No. Okay, so send us your crazy thoughts that you are either down, like I will go down with the ship on this, if you have anything on Titanic, or if you have some wild thing. Either way, if you believe something that you were told,
or you're looking into something.
or you're looking into something.
All of it. Send us All of it.
We want to know.
Yep.
Cool. So, yeah, do that. And I guess have a good day to everyone, except if you are rude to restaurant servers, staff, or anyone in retail
Or service, just the service industry. Don't be rude.
all but you.
Don't be a dick.
Bye.
Bye.